What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Behind the Glass Sports Podcast. We thank you guys for tuning in on this nice weather Monday. What in tarnations is going on there? What do you? Oh gosh! For those who are listening on the podcast, Brandon had my camera all jacked up. I was down left. I was in the lower third. I'm not a graphic. I have a name. Anyways. Thank you guys for tuning in on this moral victory Monday. That's what I'm gonna call it. Moral victory Monday. If you don't get the joke, because there's a lot of people that are happy about last night's loss for the Denver Broncos. And I'll say this before we get started. I'll come out and say it. Did the Denver Broncos play well by their standards from what we're used to? Yeah, they played well. The defense played really well. I mean, they did about everything you could ask. I mean, they held Kansas City to 9 points in the first half and 13 points in the second half. It's about as good as you can ask. And now you got me upside down. He's a child. I don't know what to say. I'm looking over at the stream. I'm like, did the stream restart? Why is he laughing again? And now I'm upside down. So, well, anyways. You got about everything you could out of the defense. I mean, they played about as great as they possibly could. And then what do the Denver Broncos and Drew Lock do? Well, what they do best. I
don't know why it looks so funny, but it looks hilarious.
Yes, well, blood is rushing to my brain as we speak. So if you could save me at any point, that would be great. Drew Lock last night, 15 to 28, 151 total yards. Oh my gosh.
I did the wrong one.
Are you good? Are you good? Do we need to restart this? Is that Drew Lock, 15 to 28, 151 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. Patrick Mahomes, 25 of 40, 318. My goodness, man. 1 touchdown, no picks. One of these is not like the other. Suffice to say, I mean, it's kind of what you expected from the Denver Broncos. I mean, Melvin Gordon had his best game. I guess that's something you could take away from that. Yeah, I like that the Broncos offensive line blocked really nicely. Oh, there we go. Now it looks good. I like the Broncos offensive line blocked very nicely for Melvin Gordon. But whenever Philip Lindsay was in the game, it was just like, olé! And Philip just got murdered every time. Melvin kept running. Melvin got all the holes, and what did he do? The turf monster came up and tackled him.
I think Melvin, hit the hole or just went.
Well, yeah, when there was holes, sure. There was no holes for Philip Lindsay.
No, I think Philip Lindsay did a little bit of dancing.
No, there was no dancing. He couldn't dance. As soon as he got the ball, it was like little giants, and all the kids just came and just swarmed him and crushed his body. I felt so bad for him. But you know what? Melvin had his best game of the season, so kudos to him for that. Yeah. The Turf Monster did have 3 tackles on him last night, so good for the Turf Monster. Maybe we should lace up those cleats a little bit tighter or get some different cleats for Melvin. But he did have a good game last night. No fumbles, no touchdowns, but 15 carries, 131 yards. Good on him there. But, I mean, listen, I didn't really tweet much last night because at this point I'm exhausted with the Broncos. There's nothing I can really just get on them about. It's the same thing every week, and Drew Lock is just, I mean, yes, he has nice moments. He has nice drives. That throw to Tim Patrick, that was awesome. Like, that was a filthy throw, a filthy catch. And then what does he do? He follows it up with a pick to end the game. Or he's missing Jerry Jeudy, and we'll talk about that. I don't know if you saw Jerry Jeudy's tweet that has now since been deleted expressing his frustrations. But, I mean, he's missing Jerry Jeudy. He's putting the ball, although it was catchable, in my opinion, for KJ Hamler, and that was the knock on KJ, was the drops. But, I mean, if he would have not led him so much, I mean, that's a first down, and that changes the game right there. At least one would think. He starts the game off with a pick as they're driving on the first drive. It's just like, Drew Lock isn't getting like significantly better. I don't see the improvement from week to week. And he was asked about that last night in the post game, and I'll pull up his quote. But it was something to the effect of, I feel like I'm starting to see it now. Like, see what? What are you seeing? Because I'm not seeing what you're seeing. They asked him, Drew, where this performance puts him and if it's where he wants to be. Personally, I feel like I'm seeing it. So I try to see it better and better each week. I know I've been seeing it. Of course, when you're seeing it with your own eyes, but feeling the game, dealing with what these defenses are doing and how they're trying to stop us, definitely farther along, feel better than I did a year ago coming here. Okay, maybe from a year ago he looks
No,
better,
no,
but
no, he doesn't, because a year ago was the last time he had that flash game that we talk about. That's the last time he had one of those
no,
games.
not. I think he means a year ago when he was in Kansas City.
Oh,
That's what I
okay.
think he means. Yeah,
Okay.
because in
Well,
that game, that
but
was the
see,
Blizzard game,
yeah,
and
but I don't think you can really count. I mean, I
sure,
guess. I mean, to him, yeah, it's better than the last time they played in Kansas City, but I think it's more so that was
right.
because of the snow.
Well, and I think that's what he means. And if that is what he means, then okay, then yeah, obviously it looks better. But in
Yeah.
general, like, God, you finished 15 of 28 and 151 yards. I mean, yes, you had 2 touchdowns, but you also had 2 picks. 63 passer rating, a 67 QBR. Like, you look at his and Patrick Mahomes' not only their stats, and Patrick Mahomes didn't have a great game. I mean, he was 25 of 40, 318, 1 touchdown, no picks, but an 81 QBR and a 95, 96 if you round up, an 82 for QBR passer rating. But, like, not only looking at the stats, but if you just look at the two, one of these is certainly not like the other. Like with Patrick Mahomes, you get a feel that he will make a play at any moment, at any time. He is dangerous. You are scared of him every play because you feel like every play is going to be a 15-plus yard gain. And it practically is every time. With Drew Lock, you're doing one of these where you're just kind of like looking through your hands, hoping that he doesn't throw a pick or, run out of the pocket too early. I don't want to always be negative on Drew Lock. Like, that's the thing. But it's the same thing with the Broncos. When you continuously put out a negative product and negative performances, there's not much to pick apart and be happy about. I gave him credit for the throw to Tim Patrick, and we were going back with our guy Cameron Parker last night of Predominantly Orange, and he's pro Lock. We're obviously con or against Lock.
I'm not against him. He's just not it. He's just not.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. But it's like he cited, we saw throws last night from him that we haven't seen before. Other than Tim Patrick throw, I was like, what throws did you see? And he cited the KJ Hamler throw, which was a drop and kind of was a badly placed ball. And he cited the other one to Tim Patrick across the middle. That was a big gain. And I'm like, well, those are pretty standard throws in my opinion. So outside of the Tim Patrick, like we know Drew Lock has arm talent. Like, that's not the issue. It's accuracy, it's footwork, it's everything that is really tough to clean up in the NFL. Like, those are the things that I worry about. When a quarterback has footwork issues, maybe that you can clean up a little bit more, but the accuracy issues, like Jerry Jeudy, man, I feel so bad for Jerry Jeudy. 4 targets last night, 1 reception, 5 yards. Every game, it seems like Drew Lock misses 1 or 2 throws from with Jeudy. And Jeudy tweeted last night, which has since been deleted, and I'm pretty sure it's a real tweet because I searched it on Twitter, and a lot of people were commenting on it. There was an Arizona fan that was like, "Come to Arizona, please." But Jerry Jeudy at 1:26 a.m. last night said, "At least I got my conditioning in," with the shrug emoji. And like, that's what it is for Jerry Jeudy. Like, he's just running around like a chicken with his head cut off. And every time Drew Lock throws it to him, especially deep, he either underthrows him or overthrows him by 15 yards. And I'm just like, man, it's not just a Lock thing, but it's like, how do we not get the number 15 pick, I think it was, regardless, your first round pick, and by many people's accounts, the best receiver overall in this draft? How do you not get him the ball easy? Like, how is it so hard to get Jerry Jeudy the football? I don't understand it.
It's because Drew Lock refuses to take the underneath throws. Look at the first pick. What the hell was that? You can't. Why is it so hard to just take the dump off pass? I mean, you had the other tight end. I don't know. I forget his name. 88.
I think that's Vanette.
Yeah, right underneath, wide open. He could have had a 5 to 10 yard gain, and that was what, second down? Take the 5 yard gain. Now you have a 3rd and 5. Let's go. It's not that hard. Make the easy. Why do you have to? And that's on your first drive. I understand with a minute left. Look, and I'll get to the rest of the defense and the rest of the game, but that the second interception doesn't bother me that much because your defense didn't help you out and your head coach didn't really help you out. So I understand that you don't have timeouts. You have to force the ball down the field because you can't just take 5-yard dump offs because you don't have timeouts. It's not going to do you anything, and you need a touchdown. So I understand that. The first one on the very first drive, that's not a throw you make. You have to take the easy dump off throw, and where Jerry Jeudy is great, I think, with his route running ability. He's a guy that you need, quick short routes, underneath routes, over the middle, those type of plays to Jerry Jeudy, and Drew Lock doesn't throw those. So that's why Jerry Jeudy doesn't get the targets that he should. And the second thing too, not just Jerry Jeudy, Noah Fant. Noah Fant, by the way, had his 4 catches for 57 yards in the first half. Nothing in the second. He might have had a couple targets because he finished with 7 targets. But I'm not even sure. I don't think he even had 2. I think he might have had, I remember 1 in the second half. So, that's an issue too, is it's your 2 best receivers in Noah Fant and Jerry Jeudy are 2 guys that need the ball over the middle, or those are kind of guys that are going to be underneath, that you can get the ball and they can make plays for you. But Drew Lock refuses to throw those passes. And that is why if Drew Lock would just take those throws, I'm telling you, his numbers over the course of the season flip the touchdowns, interceptions, and add 100 yards per game. I'm telling you, if you do those two, all you have to do is take more of the dump off throws, more of the underneath routes, because a lot of his interceptions come through not taking those throws and forcing the ball downfield. I guarantee you flip that touchdown interception ratio and you add another 100 yards a game to his numbers. And all of a sudden we're talking about and you probably add a couple more wins, by the way, too. You probably win last night. If they have a good quarterback last night, the Denver Broncos, I almost said Oakland Raiders. The Denver Broncos win. I guarantee you, if the Broncos had a good quarterback last night, they win. So it's not just, the throwing off your back foot. Yeah, those are issues, but all you have to do is take the underneath route. That's all. And it fixes a lot of issues with Drew Lock. But he doesn't do it. It's just another sign of a bad quarterback. A guy he's just not it.
Yeah, and I don't understand why he doesn't do it. Like, that's the part that baffles me. Like, there was a week, like, after, the week where he kept going downfield. I forgot what game it was, but he kept forcing it downfield and wasn't taking it. Then the next week, he, like, overcompensated and completely just went to the checkdowns. It's like, why can't we just mix and bolt? Like, what is blocking him from being able to just take that? Is it just he feel like he has to make a play? Is it play call? He feels like he can make this play. He's overconfident. I just don't understand
honestly,
what the barrier is.
I think it's his IQ. It's as simple as that. And do you remember last year when we're talking about why aren't they put him in, and they came out and said, well, the VR stuff. He doesn't do great with the VR stuff. Well, that's IQ. And I think we're seeing that. I think we're seeing he doesn't know when to throw the ball deep or to take the check down. I don't think mentally he is able to do that. And we talk about the quarterback needs to be the smartest player on the field. I don't think he's the smartest player on the field.
I mean, I guess everything at this point is up for grabs. Sure. I mean, we could go there. I mean, maybe his QB, and we're not saying that, Drew Lock is a glue eater here, but I mean,
No.
at this point, it's just like I just don't know. Like I
Football
just don't know
IQ.
with him
When
at this
it
point.
comes to being a quarterback and knowing what throws to make, what the defense is doing. We talk about Peyton's IQ, right? Peyton Manning's IQ. His IQ is the best that I think we've ever seen. And then, a couple notches below that, you have the Bradys of the world, Russell Wilson. I think Rodgers is pretty up there too. Mahomes. But then you got kind of guys that make like a Jameis Winston, even like a Brett Favre in a way where he's just kind of that gunslinger. I think that's kind of what Drew Lock is, and but he doesn't. I think it's an even more of a notch below that. I think it's towards the bottom of the league, and it's just. Those are things, I think those are reasons why he dropped in the draft, and those are reasons why the Broncos didn't put him in sooner last year. They were seeing it. They were seeing it in the VR in the VR room. Everyone, and that was a big deal last year, and I think everyone kind of forgot about it. And I think what we're seeing now is kind of the reason why he didn't come in last year. At least when we thought he should have. And it's because if you're not making the right decisions in the VR, how the hell are you going to make the right decisions in the actual game? Because the actual game is a lot more difficult.
Right.
So
I think too part of it is we got to put some blame on Pat Shurmur too, because Pat Shurmur is always not putting him in the best situations, I don't believe. To succeed.
But see,
I think it's a little bit of both.
I think the part of it is that, but it's not like Pat Shurmur is running these plays where everyone is going on a go route. There's guys underneath.
No.
There's guys open.
No, there is. No. I just think there's times and moments where Pat Shurmur probably doesn't put him in the best situation, but I think most of this is on Lock though. And I agree with you. Maybe it's IQ. Maybe it's, him being overconfident. It's probably a little bit of both of all these things. And Kemp said, we finally got a screen pass. Yes. I mean, like, we got 2 yesterday. We got one to the running back and one to the tight end.
And like, those are things that, you can put on Pat Shurmur, not running screenplays or just, starting off a drive with 2 straight runs that get you nowhere or, just whatever. But at the same time, you can go look at a lot of most of Lock's interceptions. And there's either a guy wide open down on the other side of the field because he's locked on to his number 1 target. Those 2 specifically were the New England game. Both interceptions, Jerry Jeudy was wide open over the middle of the field. And one of them probably would have been a touchdown. The second might have been depending on Jeudy if Jeudy could shake his defender. And the other interceptions come from there's a guy wide open underneath. So it's not like these are bad plays. It's just Drew Lock is a bad. He's just a bad quarterback. He's making the wrong decisions.
And Kemp says too, I like running the ball for this offense. Get the ball out of Lock's hands, and I think that's what people forget here. Like when Lock plays well and he does solid, what have the Broncos done? They've ran the ball.
Well, they ran the ball last night, and he still didn't play well. So
they ran it. Outside of Lock's 2 carries, they ran it, 31 times last night for 170 yards, minusing Lock's carries and his yards. They had 33 total carries, 179 yards.
Yeah, and that's a good game. You're helping Lock out, and yet he still throws the really bad interception early in the game. Again, I'm not going to count the second one because I don't think look, the defense, credit to the defense for holding Kansas City to 22 points. I think that broke their streak of like 25 straight games of having 23 plus, which is a NFL record. But it should have been 19. When it counted most, the defense just didn't come up and make a play for Drew Lock. And, there was another timeout fiasco where Vic Fangio let 10 to 15 seconds go off the clock before he called the timeout. I'm guessing he was, focusing on his next defensive play. So it at the end of the game, when it matters most, your coaching sucks, and Vic Fangio's amazing defense gives up 3 points. And let's, 2-3 minutes go off the clock? And you have to waste your 2 timeouts in which you wasted your first one in the third quarter. So, in a close game against a really good team, what really loses you the game is your coaching and your defense. And you can't help out your young quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, they lost in 3 different areas. They lost in coaching, they lost in the defense not being. But see, I'm not gonna get on the defense for that because they played their minds out. I mean, if they didn't, they still, even though
yeah,
they
but
still
no,
gave up
but
3 points,
you
they still
have
gave
to,
the Broncos a chance to win.
not really.
They did.
No, because you're giving your quarterback a minute to go with no timeouts. And generally
He still has a chance to win.
Generally,
I mean,
the only times, yeah, but it's those are type of drives where you see like, you need a big play, from like, those are the drives where you see Russell Wilson running around for 10 seconds in the behind the line of scrimmage and gets a 30-40 yard pass down to a wide open receiver, right? Or Mahomes making a lot of time back there. Drew Lock doesn't do that, so you can't bank on something like that to happen. Like when the Broncos got the ball with a minute left, and they have to go 75 yards to get a touchdown against a team, by the way, a defense who knows how to win and close games out. I don't know about you, but I thought there was a 0.1% chance of the Broncos actually getting a touchdown on that drive. Now, if it's a field goal, it's different because you can take the underneath routes, take 10 yards here, take 15 yards here, take another 5 to 10 yards here, and you have McManus who missed a field goal earlier in the game, but you trust him to hit a 50-plus yard field goal or even a 60-yard field goal. So you can put yourself in a position to do that, and I trust Drew Lock enough to do that. But as far as going 75 yards with no timeouts and a minute left, I mean, after the first play, you had 40 seconds to go because they took, or like 38 seconds to go because they took so long to get to the line because you have a young team. And Jerry Jeudy is just walking back to the line of scrimmage. So,
still a chance.
It's no,
Still
to
a
me,
chance.
it's not a chance. To me,
You
it's
said
not a
it's
chance.
0.1 chance. That's still a chance.
Your defense needs to help out the young offense.
They did the entire game.
Sure, but
the entire game,
right?
They did that.
But when it comes down to the final minutes of the game, your defense needs to clutch up and make a play. And
I thought they did.
No, not
clutching up against Patrick Mahomes is not only just stopping them, but
they
also held
ran.
them to a field goal.
They ran the last when they got them finally off the field. Kansas City ran the ball 3 times. Or no, they threw it, but they threw a dump off to Travis Kelce. I don't think it was if Kansas City was trying to score a touchdown, they would have, because they went right down. It was completion after completion, 5-7 yard gash, and then once they got down there and Denver started to call timeouts, once Denver called that first of their 2 timeouts, Kansas City just started to run the basic runs. But that whole drive, they were throwing it, and it was 10 yard gash, 7 yard gash, 15 yard play, and they drove right down in easily. And they blew 2 minutes off the clock, 2-3 minutes off the clock. And it was a piece of cake. So, to be honest, I don't think Kansas City's offense tried very hard last night overall throughout the whole game. Because when it mattered most in that last drive, they went right down. And when they went down 2 or 3 or whatever it was, once Denver got that second touchdown, guess what? They went right down in 2 minutes and scored a touchdown? I don't think it was that hard for them.
It's not hard for them any week, but I'm still going to give credit. The Broncos still have to make the plays to get the stop. They still have to get off the field, and they did that. And
yeah,
I think
3 minutes later, giving up a field goal.
But they still gave your team a chance. They still gave your offensive chance. Is it an ideal chance?
You have to no. If the defense would have made plays earlier, you wouldn't have wasted 2 timeouts, and you would have had at least another minute.
They made plays the entire game, though. So
Sure,
I
but what do
think
we
to
talk about
just,
with this team?
I
This
think
team,
just
when
to
they have a chance, the defense gives up big drives at the end of the game. It's every game. Any game that Denver has a chance to give their offense an opportunity to win the game, they either give up a field goal to make it to where they have to get a touchdown, or they give up a touchdown and end the game. That's what this defense does. They keep it close for most of the game, and then they give up a last little score that puts Denver's offense at a huge disadvantage. Look at the Tennessee game. Look at, you lose to...
How is I get what you're saying, but how is that all on them though? I mean, if you're keeping the game close for almost 4 quarters, 3.75 of a game,
I'm not
and
saying
your
the whole...
offense can't help you, how is that on them after like, yes, they do that. That's a real thing. But at a certain point, the offense just has to pick up their weight. This is 4 years of this.
Well, no,
It's
I
4 years
understand.
and
I'm not
multiple quarterbacks
I'm
in
not
this.
putting the whole game on the defense. What I'm saying though is, if the we want to talk about how great this defense is, or people want to talk about how great this defense is, and how good the defense played last night, but at the same time, the defense has to step up late in the game if they want to be called a great defense. If they want to be this, oh, we won the game, but the offense didn't. I don't see. You can't say that with the defense. And Shelby,
I'm not calling them great.
And by the way, Shelby Harris said the same thing last night. He said we got to get a stop sooner than that. We got to help out our offense.
Well,
because,
yeah. I mean,
because
what is he going to say? He's not going to say our offense blows again, and we did everything we can against the best team in the NFL, held them to 22 points, and of course they can't help us out. I'm not calling the Denver Broncos some great defense. I think they're good. I think they can play great at times. But listen, I'm going to give them a little bit of a pass because they're going up against the best offense in the NFL. And you could say, yeah, the Chiefs probably didn't, they were playing with their food a little bit. Sure, but Denver still has to make stops at the end of the day. And they did that. And yeah, it would have been more ideal to hold the Chiefs instead of letting that much time run out. Sure, of course. But again, they still gave the Broncos a chance, and they were still in it with 1 minute left. If Drew Lock doesn't turn it over, if Drew Lock doesn't miss throws early in the broncos were up 16-12.
Yeah, and guess
That's
what?
all you can ask for from the Broncos.
Yeah,
defense.
they were up, and guess what? The defense gave up a easy touchdown drive, and not only that, but Tyreek Hill had a touchdown, and they didn't review it, and he had a second one in which got taken away, and in one of the field goal, one of the red zone drives that Kansas City had, and I thought this was funny. There was a play where they ran. It was a reverse, but it was off an option, and it was kind of this play, and I believe it was on like 3rd down or something. I think when Kansas City got into the red zone, there's a lot of plays, and I'm like, why would they do that? And I think it was more of, oh, let's test out this play. Let's see if this works in the red zone. I think there was a lot of playing with, like you said, playing with your food type of going on with the play calling with Kansas City. And honestly, just the effort, I think Mahomes was kind of just nonchalant last night, pretty much the whole game, until they were down and that last drive. And then it was like, okay, let's go. But then once the Denver called the timeout, then it was like, okay, we're going to run the ball. So, I don't think you can really take a lot from that game, because I really do think if Kansas City was, I think if this is, if Denver is maybe a game or two behind and Kansas City wants to prove something, I think Denver gets blown out.
Maybe. I just don't think, regardless of what Kansas City did last night, whatever their mentality was, they came to play last night, and they gave their team every chance they could to win. It wasn't perfect by any stretch of the means, but again, it's just the Broncos offense, the story continuously is, and the quarterback continues to never help out this defense when they need it most.
I'm not saying that, the Broncos offense was good last night. I think the Broncos offense was crap last night. No matter what anyone says. Look, Drew Lock had in the first half, in the first half, he had 88 yards. Yeah, in the first half he had 88 yards. But at one point in the game, some point through the third quarter, and I tweeted out when he was at this point, he had 127 yards, 2 touchdowns and a pick. And I was like, okay, this might, and I believe they had just scored the second touchdown. And I said, okay, this might be that next flash game. He might get up to 200 yards, 220, 240, maybe a third touchdown and a pick. But he finished out with 151 and two touchdowns, 2 picks. And barely over 50% completion percentage. So it completely flipped. He was having a good game, a good to his standards, right? for his, the bar that's been set for him, he was having a good game until I think midway through that third or whenever they scored that second touchdown. It might have been the fourth when they scored that second touchdown. No, it was in the third. 3:50 left to go in the third, which I believe after that they had maybe 4 more drives, and he got barely not even 30 more yards passing. So, that's and you don't get Noah Fant involved. You're missing throws. KJ Hamler should have had that catch over the middle. The throw could have been better, but KJ Hamler should have had that. It's a bad team. I don't know what else to say. It's all around a bad team. The defense
it's the same thing every week.
The defense is solid. And the defense played good last night. But other than that, I mean, it's just a bad team.
It's the same thing. It's the same thing every week. This is what we get to every week. But I'm seeing this a lot on Twitter today, and I think we should probably get to it because it was a big storyline in the game. Vic Fangio punting late in the game.
Yeah,
instead
it's
of
just
going
bad
for
coaching
it,
again.
What was it? 4th and 2, 3.
4th and 3.
And he was around the 50-yard line. I mean,
go for it. You have to. You have to.
In the moment, I wasn't really thinking about it, to be honest with you. But now when I look back on it, I'm like, yeah, you should have gone for it. And Vic was asked about it after the game. And, they asked about, how much he considered going for it on 4th and 3 at midfield with 6 minutes left in the game. Broncos had 2 timeouts, I believe. And he said, I gave it strong consideration, but at some point in the game, we've got to get a stop, and we weren't able to there. We held them to a field goal, but that made it a touchdown game and burned out some of the time there. So in retrospect, we should have probably gone for it, but I did give it serious thought.
Yeah, so at the time, I actually do kind of understand where he's coming from, because when they punted, they had they had 6 minutes left in the game. So that's what I'm saying. When it mattered most, the defense gave up a 5-minute drive. They got the ball with a minute to go. That cannot happen. That cannot happen. I thought it was less than that. I thought it was only 2-3 minute drive. That was a 5-minute drive. That cannot happen. So, looking back at it, yeah, you probably should have gone for it because your defense couldn't get a stop. But your defense has been playing really good all game. They've been getting stops all game. So, they got to get a stop there. Honestly, that might have been the right decision to not go for it. Because you've been getting stops all game. You've held Kansas City to their lowest point total in 25 games. Pretty much ever since Patrick Mahomes took over. You're doing great. All you have to do is what you've been doing all game long. And they by the way, on that 5-minute drive, they had multiple third downs. And they couldn't get off the field. So that's on the defense. But I would have gone for it personally, but I'm a little bit more aggressive when it comes to that. I think with 6 minutes left, if your defense is playing great, more times than not, you're probably going to get the ball back with over 2 minutes to go, maybe 3 minutes to go, even with maybe 1 timeout out of your 2. So I think that's what he was thinking. And so I actually do, in a way, agree with the decision there. In that moment, though, when you're thinking about it, like, I would have, like I said, in that moment, I said go for it, but I understand why they punted because there's 6 minutes left. You have 2 timeouts plus the 2-minute warning, and your defense is playing to a point where they've held Kansas City to their lowest point total in 2.5 seasons. Or no, 1.5 seasons. So, I mean, I don't think you can kill Vic Fangio for that. I don't think it's a lot of people are really upset about it, but if their defense gets a stop and Kansas City has to punt the ball and you have over 2 minutes to go to get a field goal, then at that point it's on your offense, right? So then the whole going for it or should they punt isn't really that big of a deal. And by the way, they were at the 15-yard line. That punt got Kansas City down to the 15. So Kansas City went and they kicked 55-yard field goal. So they got to Denver's 31. So they went, 50, 60 yards in 5 minutes? I mean, that's bad. That's just a bad defensive possession.
Yes, but here's what I'm going to say. I think if you're Vic Fangio, and I completely get his mindset for wanting to just play it safe there, but I think one thing that probably should have been thought about in hindsight's 2020.
Well, is it really playing safe or is it more of playing smart? Because you're only down 3 with 6 minutes to go.
Here's why I think it's playing it safe. Is because if you think about it, you have already wasted a timeout. You know that the Chiefs can score at any moment,
right,
and that they can put this game away.
Well, and that's the only reason why you would go for it is because Patrick Mahomes is on the other side. But right. I think against most other teams, I think the smart play there is to punt it.
You're at midfield. It's 4th and 3. There's 6 minutes left. You have 2 timeouts. I think at that point, despite your defense playing well, I think Vic should have been like, you know what? I think we should probably just go for it here. Because if we punt it away, the likelihood of us getting a stop, a 3 and out, is very slim. So I think we should just be aggressive here. And another thing that baffles me, and why I say this too, is earlier in the game, he goes for 2 when he didn't need to go for 2. So you're aggressive at a point in the game when you don't need to be aggressive, but when you should probably be aggressive, you're not aggressive. That's another knock on Vic Fangio.
But the 2 points,
I
don't think that going for 2 didn't necessarily affect the game because if you get the field goal, you're still down by 5, so that changes nothing. So,
but you didn't have to go for 2 though. Like that's the whole point. Like
well,
you didn't have to. Like, you didn't. It was unnecessary to go for 2 there.
Well, at that point, you were. What was the score? 16 and 12. So you're up by 4. I mean, you make it a 6-point game. So yeah, I think I don't think either way really matters because you're either up by 4 or you're up by 5. I don't think it didn't. If they lost by 1, then I think it matters. Or if they were down by 8 on that final drive, I think maybe it matters a little bit more. If they were if they were down by 4, then it really matters, right? But they're up by 6. I don't think technically so the book, that the book didn't where it says you should go for it or not, when to whatever, did say that technically you should go for it. I think it's a 50-50. I don't think it really mattered either way. And if it doesn't matter either way, in my mind, then you go for 2. If it doesn't matter either way, because you might as well just take the points, right? Take the most points that you can get. You might as well take that risk if it doesn't necessarily matter in the future.
Yeah, I don't agree with that because if it doesn't matter
but at the end
either
of the
way,
game, it didn't matter.
The points, take the free points.
But at the end of the game, it doesn't matter because so instead you would have lost by 5. Congrats.
Well, I mean, you really have more to lose than to gain.
No, it doesn't because you're up by 4, and Kansas City goes down and gets a touchdown. You're down by 3 at that point, so yeah, you would have been down by 2 instead. But either way, your defense gave up a field goal, so then you're down by 5 instead of 6. Big deal, because if you still need a touchdown to win, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, yeah, can you debate about should they've gone for 2? Sure, but at the end of the day, it didn't matter. It didn't affect the outcome of the game. And at that
No, it
time,
didn't affect the outcome, but what I'm saying is the inconsistency of being aggressive earlier in the game when it's unnecessary to being safe late in the game when it does matter. That's my point here. Is Vic should, if you're going to be aggressive, be aggressive. Don't be conservative and then aggressive, aggressive then conservative. If you're going to be something, be it. Like be it to a T. Now obviously be smart about it, but for the most part, be it.
well, I
That's
think,
another issue with Vic Fangio is you never know what you're gonna get with him.
well, I
It's
think because
always
he overthinks
inconsistent.
everything. I think the problem with Vic Fangio is he just overthinks everything, and that's just he's not built to be a head coach, and so that's why you're seeing the inconsistency because he doesn't necessarily know what to do. He tries to follow the book, and then he's a defensive minded head coach. So he's going to be more conservative in situations where he wants to punt the ball or go for it. And a lot of games in the past, he would go for it on 4th down, and then he would punt the next drive on 4th and 2. So, yeah, there's inconsistency throughout the year because he's not a very good head coach, 1. And 2, he overthinks it or he just doesn't know what to do. And that's the problem. But as far as last night goes, I don't think whether it was going for 2 or punting the ball at midfield with 6 minutes to go, I don't think either of those was a bad decision. I think you can make arguments to where you could have done the opposite, but I don't think either of them were really bad decisions because at the end of the day, your defense has been playing great, should have made a stop. Going for 2 at the end of the day didn't matter, and at the time doesn't matter because you're up by 4, and you're trying to go. If you go up by the difference between being up by 4 and being up by 5 doesn't matter, and because if they get a touchdown, right, you're either up by 2 or you're either down by 2 or you're down by 3. So whether or not they go for it or not, so that doesn't matter because then it's just a field goal. Either way, and at the end of the game, you're up by 6 or you're down by 6 or you're down by 5, so it doesn't matter. So I think either one, I don't think you can really say like, oh, Vic Fangio made terrible decisions. I think the terrible decisions came down to the timeout in the third quarter and waiting 10 to 15 seconds to call your timeouts at the end of the game. Those were bigger issues, I think, than the decision to go for it or, go for 2. But again, I mean, either way, it doesn't matter because your defense couldn't get a stop and your offense can't get touchdowns. So,
And we're stuck in the same boat every week, and that's what it is. And I'll repeat it again. I say this every week. The best thing for the Denver Broncos to do the rest of the season is lose.
Yeah.
That is the best thing for them to lose. Big picture, the best thing is to lose. They currently sit at the 10th draft pick, according to Tankathon. They have Miami, will get that pick via Houston. Ahead of them at 9, Atlanta, ahead of them at 8, and then Carolina at 7. I looked at the schedules. Atlanta could beat the Chargers next week, so they could possibly win. Houston could beat Chicago next week, so they could possibly win. If Denver can find a way to lose to Carolina, which I think is a very winnable game for the Broncos, unfortunately, and they'll most likely probably win that game and push themselves back in the draft order, I think they could possibly, if I have this right, they could possibly move up to 7 in the draft order. You have Philly, who will definitely lose next week.
Right.
To
Well,
the Saints.
Philly and Dallas, though, they're gonna probably get 1 or 2 more wins because they're in the division that they're in.
And Dallas has a winnable game next week against Cincinnati. So I don't know where the tiebreaker would, how that would work if Denver lost and they won, and they both have the same record. But
and the Broncos still have to play the Chargers one more time, right?
Yes.
So the Broncos can fall if the Broncos lose out. They could get to the 4th pick.
which I don't think they will. I think they'll probably. I'm leaning towards picking them to beat Carolina this week, and that's even if we have a game because today it came out that Carolina had to shut down their facilities because they had multiple COVID tests, positive tests. So, I mean, if they do play that game, I mean, I think that's a very winnable game for the Broncos. I mean, Carolina right now is a 3.5 favorite, 3.5 point favorite. So, I don't know. It's also a very losable game too, but I could see them winning that
Yeah.
game.
Do we know
Unfortunately,
the status on McCaffrey? Is he done for the year, or is he?
um, did he play
No,
yesterday?
he didn't play yesterday.
I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know. I mean, if he's not playing, then I think that heightens Denver's chance to win. I'm telling you, I'm gonna call it right now. The Denver
Carolina
Broncos will
didn't.
win next week.
Carolina didn't play yesterday.
The
They had a
Broncos are
bye.
gonna win next week. Oh,
I mean,
were they on a
well,
bye
yeah,
week?
Carolina's has a bye, so they've had plenty of time to look at Denver. They lost by 1 to Minnesota, and then they shut out the Lions 20-0. Carolina has a pretty good defense. Drew Lock might not. Drew Lock might have a terrible game. If Drew Lock turns the ball over against Carolina, which is most likely going to happen, Carolina can win. Whenever that game happens.
And I'm just seeing right now, DJ Moore is among the players being added to the COVID-19 list. So that's a big player for
Yeah, that's a big loss
for the
them.
Panthers. So
That's
I'm
going to be a
call it
low
right. The
scoring
Broncos
game.
are gonna win this game.
That's a 9-6 game.
Yeah, it's gonna be one that's gonna be tucked away in the back of Fox's broadcast or CBS, whoever has it, and no one's gonna want to watch that. And I'm sorry if that's in your region, but the best thing for the Broncos to do is just to lose at this point. But knowing the Broncos, whenever they should lose, they win, and whenever you want them to win, they lose. So I fully expect us to be picking at 13 or 12 this year when we could have been picking at 4 through 7, maybe even 8. So we'll see how that goes. Pick them real quick because feeling pretty good. Bouncing back off of a rough week last week, was 9-6. You were 12-3.
You gained one game.
This week I gain a game, so I'm up a full NFL season on you now. With what do we got? 4 weeks to go plus playoffs. So
you won't get your 20, but you'll win.
I might. I mean, we're not going too much different. You got Pittsburgh tomorrow. I have Pittsburgh as well. Buffalo, San Fran, I believe, is tonight, and then Baltimore, Dallas is tonight, I believe, as well. Right?
I think Pittsburgh plays tonight.
Are you sure? I thought it was.
Maybe no. Yeah,
I thought they played Tuesday.
I think the Baltimore game is.
Oh no! Yes,
tomorrow.
Pittsburgh plays at 3 p.m. today. Love that. Wow. They got another day game, and 6:15 tonight for the Bills and Niners, and then tomorrow night 6:05 for Cowboys Ravens. Who do you have in the Cowboys Ravens? So I can put that. I have Baltimore. You gonna go out on a limb and choose the Cowboys?
Well, do we know if is Baltimore good to go? Like,
as far as I know, everybody's.
I would like to know if Lamar Jackson is playing.
I believe he is. Let me see. I'll just look at Twitter. Lamar Jackson.
Oh yeah, expects to start.
Okay.
Yeah, then I'll pick Baltimore.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, if Lamar was out, I would have picked Dallas. But
how about this too? Before we wrap up today, and the Denver Nuggets, if I'm not mistaken, their first preseason game
it's very soon, less than
Saturday.
Yeah,
I think it is.
I believe so. By the way,
guys were back. Yes. Yeah.
I don't think we're gonna see him much this year. You never know, depending on injuries. But I'm telling you, I've been watching a lot of film on RJ Hampton. Dear Lord, they got a steal. That is a hell of a pick. I cannot believe RJ Hampton dropped that far. That he should have been a lottery pick.
Well, he had a rough year in New Zealand.
That doesn't matter. That doesn't. He can play. He can play.
Sure. I mean, well, there's a reason he was projected to be a lottery pick coming out of high school.
That's where I think they will be more than happy to. Well, they will be more than okay with letting Monte Morris go at the end of the season. Let him get good deals elsewhere, because they have a heck of a solid backup point guard. I wouldn't be shocked if one day down the road, 2, 3, 4 years from now, we're seeing a lineup of R.J. Hampton and Jamal Murray in the backcourt. He's a hell of a player. They got a great pick there. Saw him throw an alley oop to MPJ yesterday or the day before, and MPJ actually caught it and dunked it.
It's like it's all coming together.
That's the one weird thing with him. He just cannot catch alley oop dunks. I don't get it.
Yeah, he doesn't have great hands, and that's one thing with him too. I'm hoping he tightened up his handle in this shortened off season. Really worked on that because he got stripped a lot. He's very loosey goosey with the handle, and I don't know. It's gonna be interesting. But first game is Saturday. They play the Golden State Warriors, obviously without Klay Thompson.
By the way,
Steph
did
Curry
you
will be there.
see Jokic's shoes?
I swear to you,
They haven't been announced yet, but when the second those are announced, I am buying.
Yeah.
They have
I honestly don't know if they're going to be for sale.
The Joker symbol though.
Oh, I loved it. Yeah. When I saw it, I was like, "Excuse me, hold on, wait a minute." I tweeted Nike and I said, "When can I buy my pair?"
Okay, you did that.
I will buy that right now. I will $300. Name your price, Nike. Name it. I'll take a loan out. Name it right now. Name it. I will go into debt for those shoes. Okay, that's extreme, but I would think about it. Yeah, when I saw those with the Joker, like that is easily right up there with the coolest symbols for shoes out there because he has the Joker symbol up top and then the 15 on the bottom of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, what?
Yeah.
So that goes to show you, like, people are starting to realize who he is as a player.
Mm-hmm.
So he's no longer a fat man.
I don't see Embiid getting custom shoes.
Well, I think he does have his custom shoe actually with Adidas.
Oh, does he? Well, it's Adidas, so it's a lot easier.
It's awkward. he literally like released it during the playoffs.
Oh, I don't remember that. Well, but it's Adidas. It's a lot easier to get your own custom shoes with Adidas. Nike, there's a lot more, competition.
Yeah, it's a big brand. It's not like he's like with offshore Puma or like, like that Chinese shoe brand. No, he's like, it's Nike. So I mean, it's not New Balance where the robot's at, over there with his own shoe line. Even though I like New Balances, even though they're dad shoes.
Oh yeah, the Joel Embiid collection. Oh, it's not really custom. I mean, it is, but it's not like his.
It's a signature shoe.
It's like in 2K where you get to like customize a already made Nike shoe. It's like that.
Still has his name on it. You still buy them. It's his own shoe,
and they're only $90. It shows you how much Under Armour really.
Oh, it's Under Armour? I thought it was Adidas.
Yeah, it's Under Armour. That's even worse, by the way. Yeah,
unless
no,
you're Steph Curry.
It's not really. Yeah, like Steph shoes are like 160, 180. They're selling.
When Steph has his own sub brand under Under Armour.
Right. So. Yeah, this is lame.
But yeah, no. If they ever put those on sale, I'd buy it in a heartbeat. Games on Saturday though. I don't know how ready I am for this season to be rightly upon me. Didn't get enough time to just like rest and recuperate.
I know. Yeah, game 2 will be on Christmas night, so that's a hell of a way to end Christmas against the Clippers. So yeah.
I already feel my blood pressure rising. But there's no Mason Plumlee anymore, so now I'm on the lookout. Who's the new player?
Who's the new one?
Who will anger me to my core?
I already know it's gonna be Paul Millsap. So, at least for me,
because it was Trey Lyles. Then they shipped him off. Then Mason Plumlee took that throne. Who's the nugget that is like, yes, I volunteer as tribute?
It's either Millsap or it could be JaMychal Green. Which I think JaMychal Green's gonna be a nice surprise for everyone. I think I've been thinking about it. I think it's a better fit because I think Jeremy Grant wanted to play a lot more on the wing, where the Nuggets needed a true power forward, and they got him. I think Grant would have actually started instead of MPJ. I think MPJ was gonna come off the bench. I think Grant would have started at the 3. So I think it actually works out better. The other guy that they replaced Plumlee with, the Hartstein dude or whatever, we'll see if he gets minutes or Bol will get minutes. I don't know. Depends on who gets minutes.
I think you never know. Will probably see. I think Hartstein will probably see the lion's share of the minutes.
Mm-hmm.
But I could see Bol getting in the regular season. Like 10
Yeah, I mean,
minutes.
I think they should treat Bobo like they treated MPJ last year.
Mm. Well, and you saw Malone too. They asked him about it, and he said, they're going to get crit. Because listen, people, I'm going to say this right now. I'm going to get ahead of this. The Denver Nuggets will not be a good defensive team. They're going to
No.
completely give up like 110 a night. And Michael Malone said, we're going to have to get creative. Like, it was funny because he was like, we're an offensive team now. We're going to score 130 every night. And I was like, oh boy. He says that now. And then the first night, I'm going to see that vein start palpitating in his head. And then he's going to do it. I say this every time. He's going to do that one move where he looks up at the ceiling and he starts whispering to himself, and his face is pink. And then he's going to scratch his forehead. He's just that's his woo-saw moment.
Well,
just calm down, Michael.
Here's the thing.
Go to your happy place.
If you're gonna go all offensive, then here's what you do: you start Jamal at the 1, you start Will Barton at the 2, MPJ at the 3, JaMychal Green at the 4, Jokic at the 5. Do not start Gary Harris. If you want to score, you're still gonna get defense from Will, but if you want to be able to score and I'm telling you, if Will Barton comes in and averages 15 points a game and plays really well, they're gonna have not just 2 guys, but they're gonna have 4 with MPJ. That's gonna be a really good starting lineup, because
the Nuggets are still going to be a good team.
Yeah,
like, that's I think what we're missing here.
And I think, look, the loss to Jeremy Grant sucks in that moment, but I think people are gonna be really happy with JaMychal Green.
Hopefully, if he can provide what he did for the Clippers and be that stretch big, I think he shot high 30s from 3.
Yep.
So
yeah,
it's a good pickup. So
what did he shoot? He shot 38% last year. The year before that, he shot 41, 39, 40. So the last 4 years, he's been right around 40% from 3. That's, by the way, better than Jeremy Grant. And by the way, JaMychal Green can guard kind of the smaller forward, or the small forwards too, because he's 6'8", but he's bigger to where he's more physical than Jeremy Grant. So I think he can guard more of the 4s as well. And he's a better rebounder. So I think he's for this lineup, and with MPJ coming in, I think he's a better fit.
Yeah, well, this is going to put a lot more pressure on MPJ to be able to guard those wings.
Yeah.
And that's one thing he said the other day, I want the best players. I want to guard them. I want them to guard me. So I like that the motivation is there. Yeah. Hopefully the play can transfer over.
Well, we all know MPJ is confident. We all know
right. Right. And one thing you do get with JaMychal Green is a dog. And that's what they asked Jokic about him, and he said he's that dog that we needed. So now we have one dog in the yard. We got a bunch of poodles running around, and Jokic is like a fat bulldog that lost weight, so it looks a little weird. He's a little saggy. You know what? That makes me just think. It's a random thought. Have you ever seen a skinny bulldog? What would that look like? Would all that skin just like droop down? Wow. That's mind-blowing stuff right there. Have you seriously though? Have you ever seen a skinny bulldog? I've never seen one. They're all kind of like little chubby. All right, sorry, that was way off topic. But Nuggets are back on Saturday. Last thing before we close.
Chris Haynes, NBA implementing new resting policy for 2020-2021 season, with teams prohibited from resting healthy players for any high-profile nationally televised game, and violation could result in a fine of at least $100,000. So that Christmas game, Kawhi and Paul George are playing. They're
getting rid of load management, but how are you
for the national games?
But how do you police that though? Like, how do you know if a guy really has an injury or not?
Sure, I don't know.
Like, I get it. I get what they're trying to accomplish here. But if Kawhi is like, I'm really injured, like what does Adam Silver be like? No, he has to play. Like, I just don't.
Right.
I like the thought, but like again, like it's kind of subjective in that. I mean, I don't know. We'll see how it's implemented. I don't know. Interesting though. Last thing, did you see that James Harden has still not shown up to individual workouts?
Yeah, but he called them and said, "Oh, I'll be there."
He did, but then again, I'm seeing from Rob Perez.
He's
I don't know if you follow him on Twitter.
It's tough.
Yeah, well,
they're done.
I'm seeing that he's like making a strip club tour, pretty much. I mean, he was seeing somebody posted on Instagram, I think last night, that he was at a strip club in Vegas, and apparently he was, he can't be there, but he's at a strip club in Vegas or something like that. Like he's been making the rounds, and then his sister put out a weird cryptic Instagram post, and then his mom put out a post earlier saying that he
Oh.
just wants to chase a ring, that he just wants to do what's best for him in his
Yeah,
career.
he's gone.
Yeah, he's getting traded. I feel really bad for, I think his name is Steven Silas, the guy who took over as
Yeah.
head coach there,
Yeah.
because First Take interviewed him before all this went down, and they're like, how do you feel about all these trade rumors between Russ and James Harden? He's like, I fully expect they're going to be here. They were a big part of why I took this job. I talked to those guys, and now one's gone and the other's probably going to get traded. And now he's going to be like, well, if John Wall and DeMarcus Cousins, if this was like 8 years ago, I'd be in a good spot. But
Would you still be okay with Denver trading MPJ, Bol, Monte, Will Barton, Kerry Harris, 3 first-round draft picks for James Harden?
I don't know if it'd take that much. But
just a mixture of that, whatever
I think
that is.
now I'm more hesitant to do it, to be honest. I think now I'm more hesitant because it just feels like there's something there, and you mentioned this a while back. It just feels like there's something there with James Harden where people don't like to play with him completely.
Yep.
Now, I still think he's a great player. I still think he can be the 1B or 1A on a championship team. I really do think that.
I don't know if he'd be willing to do that, though.
And that's the thing. And I just don't know. I just don't know if his style, even though he is a great passer and playmaker, which would add that to this roster, I just don't know if his style.
Put a great big man with him. If I'm the 76ers, I'm giving up Ben Simmons, and I am pairing James Harden with Joel Embiid. Get him a big man that doesn't need the ball. Jokic needs the ball a lot. Get him a big man that can run screen and rolls, alley-oop dunks.
Yeah, but then you reduce Embiid
it works.
That Capella role, and he's much better than that.
No, but here's the thing. No, I don't necessarily agree with that, because you can still in a lot of times get Embiid the ball in the post and let him do his thing. What has Philly been missing all this time? It's a guy who can score, and a guy who can get Embiid the ball consistently, which I think Ben Simmons does. But I think it's a good fit. I think if James Harden goes to Philly to play with Joel Embiid with the shooters around them, I think that I will say this: I think that's the favorite to win the East. Because I don't necessarily believe in Brooklyn that much right now. I need to see it before I actually believe it. With Kyrie and KD playing together, so I would say if that trade happens before the season starts, and I haven't seen Brooklyn yet, I would put Philly as number 1.
It's interesting, but yeah, as it pertains to the Nuggets, I think I'm a little bit off of it right now. But I mean, I wouldn't hate it either having James Harden on this team.
Yeah,
but
I mean, I wouldn't.
You never know.
But
so
it would suck to see MPJ go crazy in Houston.
I guess that would be depressing, and that's probably what would happen.
Yeah.
So we'll see. We'll see how it plays out, and hopefully this is the year the Nuggets can somehow steal a championship. I don't know if it is, but we're getting close to seeing this season unfold.
The Lakers have it back to back.
We'll see. You never know. Injuries, trades. You never know. That's going to do it for us today. We thank you guys for tuning in on this, Moral Victory Monday. For Brandon Stoll on the other side, I'm Steven Priest
credit
Jr.
to the Raiders. Broncos.
Yeah.
I don't know why I keep saying that.
Honestly, like the Broncos shouldn't even feel disrespected. They got confused for a wild card team. The Raiders should be disrespected.
That was so. I was doing dishes, and I heard it, but I was like, "Did I hear that?" I was like, "No, there's no way I heard that." Right? And then I jump on Twitter and I see it everywhere. I'm like, "Oh yeah, he definitely said that." That's hilarious.
I mean, that was totally intentional, by the way. Like he knows who he just played.
Oh yeah.
They spent a week preparing for that team.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh wait,
they know who they played.
They've played the Raiders twice already too, right? So yeah, no. I was gonna say maybe they play the Raiders next week. No, they've played them twice. That's funny. That was
a
funny.
Shot.
Oh yeah.
Saying we're better than both of your teams. You both suck. I'm gonna mix you up because I know your fans will get angry. That's what that was. It was completely intentional, and part of me hates it, part of me likes it. So,
I loved
kudos
it.
to Travis Kelce.
I loved it. I
So
thought it was hilarious.
we thank you guys for tuning in. That's going to do it for us today. This has been the Behind the Glass Sports Podcast.